depending on, the budget and your kids, some people are going to feed them kids that because it's going to be cheaper.
You think so? You think it'll be cheaper?
Yeah.
I think they'll probably offset their cost and it'll be cheaper for them. But
Ah.
I don't see them making it cheaper for anyone else to purchase.
I think it'll be
Mm.
cheaper. I think that, and here's why. I think it'll be cheaper because it's like anything else. If you look at certain communities, certain types of foods are the cheapest. That's why we buy them, and that's why it impacts our health. It's not like healthy food is cheap. Healthier food is more expensive. Your fruits, your vegetables, things you should be eating are more expensive to buy. That's why in certain communities we call it a food desert, because we're not planting, we're not growing. And some places, some neighborhoods and states don't allow you now to grow produce in your yard.
Yep.
That's crazy.
This is true. Yeah, I still think they will find a way to, because when I think about it, like tofu and, like you said, anything that you want that's got a modicum of health value to it, right? It's rare, it's hard to find, and initially it starts off as a kind of a novelty thing. Hey, try this new thing, right? And then they gauge whether it's going to be something that they raise the prices on, and it becomes this, luxury item. Like everybody can't afford this, so you give it a shot, kind of thing.
Like look at juicing, right?
The psychology
you go to a place
of it,
and get real cold press or real actual juice that's healthy for you. You're looking at roughly anywhere between, let's say $8 to $12 a bottle. And that's it. Now, juicing is something you could do at home, but to the average person that lives paycheck to paycheck, buying a juicer is not an expense you want. Just like buying produce. It's like if you don't have, we are created to live fast lives. Right. Everything's fast, microwave, quick, Meals on Wheels, like not Meals on Wheels, but like now they have meals coming to your home so you can pop them in the microwave. And they're like, the nutrients. Well, that's taken out once you pop in the microwave. So if you're not cooking it in the oven or on the stove, you're actually taking a lot of that out of the food.
Shoot, when they processed it and threw it in that little plastic container, that was that was it, big, and put that film on it. It's like
Good morning, Darrell. Yeah. All right, let's.
Good morning, Darrell. Are you at the film festival? Darrell's at a film.
The one in Newark
was at the
Jersey?
film festival this weekend.
Yes. Let's see. All right, let's bring us in real quick. We're going. You know what we do? We do what we do.
We do what we do.
Drop that opening. Here we go. Good morning. Welcome to the Black Filmmakers Lounge Saturday morning indie industry shop talk. I'm your host, Michael Melvin. My co-host, Tamara T.K. Henderson. The Black Filmmakers Lounge Saturday morning indie industry shop talk is where independent filmmakers, whether novice or professionals, come together to gain insight and perspective through education, information, networking, and to discuss industry best practices that will advance the Black interdependent film community. What's up? Good morning. With TK and our special guest, Thaddeus W. Jones Jr.
Thank you,
Dr. Jones. It's Thaddeus Dr. Jones.
Dr. Thaddeus Jones, because he earned that. He earned that.
Come on.
Doctor. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
He earned that, doctor.
I went back and worked hard for that. Listen now.
Hold on.
You're right, they do. They make you work real hard for it.
Matter of fact, speaking, bam. We're going to make sure that it shows up there. There we
Appreciate
go.
it. That's
Because
what's up.
the doctor is in the house. That's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Good morning, brother. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm great. I'm happy to be here. How y'all doing?
We are blessed,
Good,
man.
good, good.
Blessed.
I am good. I'm good.
Oh,
Just got to burst at the seams, but I'm good.
so we want to say good morning to Darrell again. He's on his way there to the film festival.
Okay,
Good morning, Thomas R. Carter. Good morning, brother. How you doing? If you're visiting us right now on the Black Filmmakers Lounge, we like to say we appreciate you and thank you for joining us today. It is one of those days. So, yeah, this is what we do Saturday mornings. Although, so I have to say this, unfortunately, it's not unfortunate, but we are going to be taking a nice little break from the Black Filmmakers Lounge for the month of July towards the end of August. We'll actually be coming back in late August. But we're taking a break. Now, you may see other things like we do have tomorrow. We do have the roundtable discussion for filmmakers. So if you want to join us, DM TK, send her your email address. She'll send you the link to join us. It's be Eastern Standard Time from 7:30 to 9 o'clock, Central Standard Time, 6:30 to 8 o'clock. And it will be, is that the last roundtable until August as well. So you want to get in there, but we'll do some check-ins, postings and stuff throughout the month of July and August, but we just won't be having the formal podcast. So we're just letting you guys know that ahead. So if you're watching, you're like, where are they? It's Saturday. People about to start filming, working on grind. I'll be at some film festivals. Actually, I'll see Thaddeus at a film festival.
Oh, yay!
So, yeah. And so we'll be hanging out there because we both got projects at the festival.
Yay!
So, you know, it's good. So it is what it is, but we just wanted to give you all the heads up. So today's show is the season finale. And as you know, when we do season finales, we revamp the show. We come back with some extra stuff. We stick to some things, but we, you know, that's when we start planning and making changes. So, you know, just like any TV show or anything, this, you know, it's what we do, baby.
I feel like especially when you have the season finale, that's when your surprise guests show up.
Yeah, there you go. See?
That part.
There you go.
That part. Yes, thank you for coming on. I'm
Yeah.
like, we have to get Dr. Thaddeus on the show. It's Thaddeus, Dr. Jones. That's what I thought, because I knew him as Thaddeus. Then I started calling, then it was like the doctor, and I was like, oh, so Thaddeus, Dr. Jones. So Dr. Thaddeus Jones. But definitely, guys, welcome our special guest, Dr. Thaddeus W. Jones Jr. He is part of our Black Filmmakers Lounge community, part of our family. He's doing great work filming. He's been filming stuff. He is working on a feature, locking down, securing funding for a feature film, his feature film Tattoo, which will be his first feature.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
His first feature film. He's also he's a professor at the Midlands Tech, the College Midlands Tech. I did write that with the S. Midlands Tech. He does a lot of stuff in his community, Hampton County, which is in South Carolina. He does film camps normally during the summer for middle school and high school kids. He is also entrepreneurial residency at the University of South Carolina as well. So he is doing a lot to educate our kids, educate the adults as well as being able to do what he loves, and that is this film wonderful industry, the greatest industry ever.
I couldn't do anything else.
And I have, and you know, I have a question, and I know, you know, you, of course, we have pre-show talk, and then so you and Michael have been talking, and then I, you know, did some research and stuff. But I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question about the middle school VHS movie.
Oh man.
That I want to hear about the middle school VHS movie. And I had to think, I was like, wait a minute, during that time, because I'm from a small town too. And we we got a VCR in our home at 8th grade, so that was a long time ago. And so when you talked about, that I had to remember, I was like, okay, he did say, so he is 6 years, like 6 years younger than me, 6, 7 years younger than me. So when you talked about the making the the movie with the VHS recorder, I mean, or VHS camera in middle school in a small town, that really intrigued me.
Mm.
That intrigued.
It wasn't something that everybody was afforded the opportunity to do. I'll tell you that it was through a gifted and talented program. Thank God for gifted and talented back in the day, because I would have probably been in so much trouble had it not been for that opportunity to learn things outside of the regular curriculum. And that was the first kind of. I mean, I already loved movies, but that was the first
me. Mhm.
idea of maybe I could do this as a living. Like maybe I could do this when I grow up. And we just used a VHS. I don't even know what it's called. One of the big ones. Like, it wasn't even a handy cam. You talking about the big ones that you used to.
RCA ones, the big
Yeah, like
RCA.
the RCA ones. They would when they started up, it was you hear it revving kind of up. Yeah. We we used that to film
Wow.
a. We used that to film a high school, a middle school time capsule film,
Okay.
and so our gifted and talented teachers said, in 30 years you'll come back and we'll dig it up, and nobody knows where this thing is now. I don't think. Uh, but we made it and put it together, and they put it in a little time capsule, and we did. We did a lot of filming in the school. So the school at the time was North District Middle School. I don't even know if they still have it or not in Hampton, because they've done a lot of different things. But that's where we would go for gifted and talented. So I would leave my school, bus over to this other school, spend all day over there on like Tuesdays. And
Mm.
it was like one day of the week that I was like, okay, can't miss this day. Can't get in any trouble. Like, like, gotta make sure that I am able to go to Gifted and Talented on Tuesday. So it was
Oh,
it was the
okay.
bug that bit me. So yeah, and
Okay.
the
So you were
process.
close to the school with the gifted and talented.
Yeah, so Hampton is very very small, but there are. I went to a small elementary school,
Hmm.
and I moved in. First off, I'm not really from Hampton. My father was in the military. So um, we moved to Hampton when he got out of the military, and I need to talk with my parents about that choice. But anyway, Hampton is just a tiny town, and and when I moved there, the mm, the education there was a little, I would say, a little behind where I was coming from a military school. Um, And so I got bored very quickly and started to like get into trouble, and
Mm.
tested into this gifted and talented program. And then from there, it was just like, this is what I'm looking forward to. Um, and that school um, was the gifted and talented program was housed in another school, but it was still part of this same district. I don't know how they worked that out, but some people went to, I think it was based off of the town, right? So I lived in Hampton. There's another town that's it's not far at all, called Varnville. They're in the
Mhm.
same district, and one of those, they house their gifted and talented program at a middle school, and so I would get bussed over there. And these were kids that did not, I didn't know. These are other kids from other classes, other school, some from North District, some from the school that I went to, and they just kind of made a hodgepodge class. And we learned things like how to read the stock market ticker, world affairs, biology. Like, it was just a hodgepodge of stuff that you would not get in a regular class.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And that's good because now they have a little of that. I'm not in the schools, but you don't hear about that a lot. Back in, I think I was in the city, and the high school I went to, I think we took a life skills class where they taught us to write a check, some basic stuff like that. But I never remember learning about the stock market or reading,
Really?
You had typing class when I was in school. So that kind of tells you,
I
Yeah,
think it's where you lived. I think it's always like
I
where
was
you
in the
live.
city.
No, what I'm
And
saying,
I
because
was-
like I was in the East
yeah.
Coast for high school, and I took introduction to business classes,
Uh-huh.
business law classes, of course, art, and writing and stuff like that. But I think it's where you are, because I enjoyed learning about business and how to run a business. That I carried it over to college, and I minored in business with my communications major.
hmm Yeah, I think that was one of the things I didn't pick up till later. We had a lot of the arts stuff when I was coming up. So I did, drama. I did creative writing,
Mhm.
those kinds of things. And then it wasn't until after the first time I went to college, after I dropped out for 10 years and came back, that I was like really focused on, like, I need to learn the business side. I need to learn it all.
Mm.
So yeah, it was an interesting trek just to even get back to being a filmmaker. I was homeless. I was trying to find my way, and at a certain point, your parents are like, "You're gonna do this. You got to figure it out because the well is dry." Yeah. There's only so many times you can go and say, I need to borrow some money, like, as especially becoming a young adult. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah, well, military parents be like, you need to do something practical.
Yeah, exactly. My dad was like, "All right, well, if you ain't going to college, you can just get a job, right? And
Oh,
it better be, something, because you ain't staying here rent free, kind of thing." And we kind of butted heads, and I was just trying to figure out who I was and how to be me.
you didn't get
And
the three options.
uh, I didn't get any options. I
No, the
was
three options were college, military, or a job. That's it.
so I guess yeah. In a way, my mom kind of gave me those options, or you can't live here, kind of thing. Like, you ain't going, you ain't doing none of these things, then everybody in here work. Like, this, everybody live here work.
Yeah.
And I was not happy about. I mean, I didn't want to work. I worked at McDonald's while I was in high school for a long time and made a little money that way. But I got to a point where I was just like, I didn't care about any of that stuff. Even though I realize how much those jobs, those little odds and end jobs, have influenced my writing, influenced me as a person. But you can't realize that while you're in it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so eventually I decided I was going to move to Augusta with some friends and join a rap group, and did that, and that's how I ended up homeless. Like, it's just like, decision.
He said,
You better make them, or they'll make you.
Yeah.
what was the name of the rap group? You can't leave, like, you got to tell us the name.
Wow. Many, many years ago, I was part of a group. It was a acronym group called Rival.
Hmm.
RIVAL. Ritual Incarcerated Verbal Apostle Legion was the name of the group. It was two groups that came together to be one group. And I still have a couple friends that are still out there pursuing music. I've released a couple instrumental albums and one regular album. So I still do it in my spare time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna hit you up about that music. Yeah, I'm researching music right now.
It's funny how we
Yeah.
have that in common too. That's funny.
Yeah, y'all
Oh
have
yeah.
a lot. You guys have a lot in common. A lot in common.
It's the filmmaker's journey. It's no longer the hero journey. It's the filmmaker.
Well,
Yeah.
with the military background, starting, of course, being exposed at a young age, and then both of you, were in music. Uh,
Hmm.
so both of you were in music. Both of you are educators.
Yeah.
Both of you have formal educations. I must add, because I'm a whole self taught.
We
Uh,
military kids. We military. We're military brats.
Yeah, there you go. Some of my
I
best.
don't know. I don't say brats anymore. Let me tell y'all a side note. I seen these two little kids standing in the airport next to their dad, and they were little boys. They literally like were 2 and 3, and they were like,
Oh, was he in
and
fatigue? He
I
was
was
in
just like,
his
at first I
uniform.
was like, I said, those two kids, and I had to tell the dad. I said, they are so well mannered. I said, I just had to
Better
compliment.
be.
He was like, hold on. He was like, yeah, with me, they know how to act. And it was a white guy. He's like, it don't matter, but
Because
still.
it
He was
affects
like,
their rank.
he
Mm.
said, with me, they know how to act, different from their mom because I'm military. And immediately I start feeling sorry for those kids. I said, oh Lord, he probably tortured the hell out of them little kids. Those kids ain't well mannered, they're scared to damn death. That's
No, it didn't matter. It's a different thing because if you act up like we used to live on the bases sometimes, and sometimes we didn't, but we went
Yep.
to school on some bases. It just varied. But if you're on the base, you can't do certain things because it affects your parent or
Because
your
everybody,
parents,
it's gonna get back to your father. It's gonna get
and it
back
can
to who.
affect their rank.
Yeah, but I was like, these kids are scared to death. That's what's wrong with them. They wasn't well mannered. It's a difference.
No, we were raised a certain way. Like we got up with our parents sometimes at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, make up the bed, clean the house, do all the stuff to get dressed for school and stuff. And my friends are like, "You always up early?" Like, dude, it's been since I was born. Like,
Well, listen, and I rebelled so hard against that to the point now. It's just like, okay, like I think 9 o'clock is like, okay, I can't lay here anymore. I gotta get up. Like, oh, it hurts. And then like, you know, when you have something to do, that schedule is up. Okay, I got to be up at 5. I need to do X, Y, and Z before I do this, that, and the third. And everybody's like, "You've been up since how? What?" Like, but it's nothing because that's just it's ingrained in your body clock. Is just like get up, make your bed,
mhm.
do what's necessary. Now I'm just like, thank God it's my house and not living in my
You know
father's
what?
house.
Because my house isn't totally 100% clean. Like it, when I first moved out on my own, like every Saturday morning, cleaned up the house, or
That's
Friday
right.
night, yeah, you got it all straightened out because that's what you did as a kid. And in
Hmm.
a military household, you made your bed. My dad did the quarter thing. Uh, you know what I'm saying? So like,
A quarter had to bounce off of the bed.
yeah, it's
Oh,
how
that's
the bed got.
military corner. You got to have
Yeah,
that height. You got to have it.
yeah.
When I was
Oh,
in Job Corps, it was the same deal. So it
Oh,
went,
yo, you was in Job Corps?
yeah.
Dude,
Hmm.
I used to teach Job Corps.
Oh,
I'm telling y'all are
Wait
like,
a second. I know that is.
yeah,
Wait.
I left New York. I was looking to go into, believe it or not, culinary arts
Okay.
in New York, and they had a year-long waiting list. And I just was like, nah, I got to get out my dad's house. So and I had left South Carolina to go to New York. And the only place they had an opening for right now was Bamberg, South Carolina.
Mm.
And I did not want to come back to South Carolina, but it was the only place that was open. And the only thing that they didn't have a culinary arts program. They had like a cafeteria workers kind of program. And I
Mm-hmm.
definitely didn't want to do that. They had collision repair. So I was like, oh, okay, that could be cool. Auto body repair,
Mm-hmm.
that could be cool. and I went and signed up for that and ended up there and doing well. And one of the first things I realized was like, oh, this is a military installation. It started to look
It's on a
familiar.
base. Yeah, because ours was on a base by Fort Meade.
Wait a minute. I know this. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
and then to mention your life skills is like you had life skills classes, and so I had already graduated high school, so I did not need those classes that were going on in the daytime. I was running my trade, so my instructor after a few months was like, "All right, this your shop, run it." That was kind of like my intro into business. Was like I had to order the supplies, I had to know who to schedule and all this stuff, and they kind of just handed that over to me because I didn't have any other classes. I was the only
Yeah, you
person
just
sitting.
in trade. You didn't have to split your day, or you didn't have to split your weeks. You were just totally trade oriented
All
because you already had your high school diploma. And because the way the program is, people who don't have a high school diploma, they come, they take the TABE,
Yep.
and then they get their high school diploma. They work on that, and they take GED classes, and then they go to their trade. And some job corps, they split by day, like half the day is your class, the other half is your trade. Other job corps, 1 week is trade, 1 week is your classes. I was at the other ones.
So the crazy part was I came in with an associate's degree.
Mm.
Oh wow.
And
Really?
so it was crazy because like everybody's like, why are you here? I was
Yeah,
like,
I would have been like that too. I'd have been like, hey, go to
why
college,
are
man.
they
That's
can't
what you
go
do.
like why are you what is going like are you police mandated? Like they would ask me, are you like have you been mandated to be here? I'm like, no. I just did the
Oh
research
yeah.
on it, and it was I was like, this is a sweet hustle. They're gonna pay me.
Yeah, it is.
I got a place to live. They gave me a housing allowance. I learned a trade. I didn't
Come
have to
on.
pay for food. And then I guess I can say this now. I was loan sharking there. So I was like, I had a closet full of goodies. I could leave campus. Nobody else could leave campus. So I got a second job at McDonald's that would bring back food at night and charge when cheeseburgers were $1, not double cheeseburgers were $1, it was $2 for me to bring them back. I would go to Dollar General and buy all their little snacks and little Debbie's and stock my closet. And so everybody would come to me and buy those things. And so I was making more money in Job Corps than I was on the street because they were paying me to do this. So I was just like,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they
You
got
had
a check every 2 weeks. They got a check, and they could save it. They could put it in savings.
oh my God. You
Or
had
split it. Yeah, there were so many. I always say the Job Corps, some of the concept could come to public education, and a lot more students would probably be more successful
totally.
because
So
it's
I
like working anyway.
absolutely.
That's what school is. School is your job. That's what young people don't understand. It's really giving you the skills to work a job. And if you decide to go to college, you further yourself. It's like you weed out. You're weeding out your workers and your talented 10th. You weeding out those people.
and loved every minute. It got my mind turning on small business and enterprise, right? I was like,
Mhm.
okay, you mean if I buy a pack of cigarettes and I smoke, but I didn't want to front the cost. I did smoke. I don't smoke anymore, but I didn't want to front the cost of my buying a carton, right? So I would buy a carton, and then I would nickel and dime at all the
Sell
cigarettes.
Lucy's.
The Lucy's, right? So Lucy's back then was like 50 cent, $1 on payday. If you ain't have any money today, I give you a cigarette, but it's $1 when you get your check.
oh
So
my God.
I was doing all of those kinds of things. So on the weekends, when you get your weekend pass, I would go and get me a hotel room and chill out and then come back. Like it was.
Oh, you had it made in Job Corps.
If used right, Job Corps could be a good opportunity for a lot of young people if used right, because they actually pay you. Well, okay, that was years ago that I worked for Job Corps, but they actually pay you even when you leave the program because they call and check on you 3 months out. Then they wait another 6 months and call you. Then it's a year out, and they send you a check. If you're working in your trade, they pay you. If you got a job, they pay you a little bit, but it's less because you're not in your trade. But
I'll tell you that story did not end well for me.
okay.
did well and went to advanced training.
Okay.
So they sent me to the UAW site in Utah.
Mm.
And before I left, I got married, which was the mistake. Getting married before I move across the country was not a smart move. And I ended up leaving that program under circumstances that are probably better for a different show.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because it is a federal installation. So I was
Okay.
given an option. You can leave the program or you can face these charges. And I was like, oh, guess I'm going home. And I called my mom and she was like, yeah, nah, we ain't coming to get you. You gonna mess this
Ooh.
up. You on your own. And that's how, you learn hard lessons, right? You learn hard
Mm-hmm.
lessons. But when I left there, I took a lot of the lessons that I learned and really was determined to come back and kind of rebuild. It was like a new lifetime because when I came out of Job Corps, things, I had been in Job Corps for probably, I went in at 23. I think you have to be out by 24.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at the UAW side. I turned 24 in the program. So when I came back, all of my friends were, the ones that were doing college were already out of college, were already doing their thing. The ones that weren't doing anything, they still weren't doing anything, but time had progressed and they were doing something a little different than what I was doing when I left them. And so it really made me have to sit down and think like, one, what's the common denominator? Why is all this stuff happening to you? Yeah, what's the common denominator? Like it's you. Like you got to fix you. And then two, what is it that you want out of life? And this is how I ended up back around the long way to get back to film. At that point, I just thought I just need a job. I went back to McDonald's. I went back to substitute teaching and being a parapro. And that's what started the whole trend towards filmmaking. It was a long road to get back to filmmaking because I did a lot of stuff in between that. Like I owned a bread truck. I waited tables. I worked at a monkey farm. I did a lot of little odds and ends jobs, custom
Mm.
motorcycles, and all of that kind of helped influence and inform me to get back to the thing that I was most passionate about, which was filmmaking.
Cool. Oh, now
Wow.
circling back to filmmaking, your first short, the Downs Gina.
The Down Downs Jenna. Yep. Hmm.
Jenna. I said Gina. It's
Jenna.
Jena. So tell us about so circling back to filmmaking and getting back to love. Tell us how that first short came about.
That short came about because at the time I was at USC, I was really interested in trying to get a short done. I'd met a partner of mine who I still work with now, Dr. Brandon Glover, and we just we ran in the same rap circle. Where we did music, we performed, and we were both at USC at the time. And we both knew a young lady by the name of I'm gonna mess her name up. Jackie Gauchette, who goes by the name of Venom on the radio. She was a radio personality, and she'd written a book called The Down Downs. And I had been in her circle working, like bouncing and doing different things at different nightclubs, and we just talked. She was like, "You make films?" I was like, "Yeah." So I got this book, and I want to make it into a short film, and I was like, "Okay, let me read the book."
Mm-hmm.
And so she gave me a copy of the book, and I read it. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is easy. This will be easy." Like, and then I obviously, you don't have the experience to know how hard it really is going to be. And so
I started laughing when you said it. You like this would be easy. I
true.
started laughing.
I read the book. I was like, "Oh yeah," because I could see it in my mind, and you think that's it. I can go out here and do this. But I needed to take her narrative and turn it into a screenplay. And so I had already had a screenwriting class, and it was just the bare bones basics. So I went in there and wrote the script, and I actually wrote several shorts out of that book. And this one was the one that we all decided on to actually make. And so putting that together was such a hodgepodge. We just were like, we didn't do any real formal casting call. It was kind of like, somebody, okay, I think she'll be good at it. And, we were just, and who's got a camera? We got extra, like we used garage lights. Like we didn't own any real lights, but
Yeah.
we used a Panasonic AGH-MC 40, which is a single body camera with a fixed lens to film it. We miking wise, we just used the bare bones of what we could get from the school and what we already had, and then we shot it over a few months. It took us a few months because we would stop and start each scene, and then we'd have to get everybody back together. And so this was like, during this process, I'm like, I don't want to do this like this. Like it's because being consistent is really hard to have a consistent look over that period of time. And it was off and on and off and on. I think the actual production might have was a month, and then it took us several months to get the cut exactly right. Because we had like a 20-minute cut. We kept everything. We had everything in there, like, and then a great mentor of mine, God bless the dead, who passed away earlier this year, watched it, and she was like, Dad, this is good, but it needs a little work. And so her name was Susan Hogue. One of the first people that really like saw and was like, I believe that you can be a great filmmaker, because I didn't believe it at the time. I was just doing what I wanted. I'm out here running wild. Like, this is what I'm on my own. I'm grown. I can do what I want to do, kind of thing. But I didn't believe that I was going to be a great filmmaker at the time. It was just a thing to do. And she believed so much that she was like, here's some money. I want to put these into some film festivals, and like, I want you to make these cuts here and here. So she became like my executive producer, and really kind of helped me understand how festivals work, why they pick certain films, why the length was important, how to spin the narrative around your story, because a lot of times that is something that people don't talk about. Like, choosing the right festival is number one, and then how do you spin the narrative around your film? Why is it relevant? Why is it important for this film to make it into this festival, kind of thing? And your director's statement kind of stuff.
Right.
And so she worked with us. We submitted a ton of festivals, and then we got into the New Filmmakers Festival in New York. And so that was the first festival ever, first film we ever made, and it got in there, and I was so excited, and nobody else I thought was going to be able to make the trip. And then Venom, she made the trip, and one of her girlfriends, and we all went up to New York, and they showed it. It was my first film festival, and I was so excited and nervous. I didn't know what to expect. And we're in a new city, not really new. I mean, I've been to New York, but in that circle of people, and then it got into a film festival in L.A., the BHERC, the Black, what is it? BHERC, Black Historic Education, something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is. We've had another film go into that festival, and so I went to L.A. for that one, and it was held on the Paramount lot or adjacent to the Paramount lot. And so that was a unique experience as well. And this was our first film. And so at that point, I was just like, okay, maybe this is a good film. Like, and so, yeah, from that point on, it was like, okay, how do I do this better? Like, what do I need to do because I remembered that process. It's like, I was not happy with I was happy with the outcome and how we got there. The process wasn't streamlined at all. And so then we did another film, Killer Love Story, and started refining the process. I don't know. I run around Texas to get back to South Carolina. Seemed like just now.
No, that's good because a lot of times, you know, and even as filmmakers, us as filmmakers, as filmmakers, even as us as filmmakers, we we're like we think sometimes, it's just like in life. I compare everything to life. I'm the only one going through this. I'm the only one that go to Montana back to Texas just to get over to North Carolina today. Like, but it's not. Like you said, this industry is tough, in this industry, and there's so many little bitty pieces. And like, we don't want to go through the McDonald's, we don't want to go through the Job Corps, we don't want to go through the body shop, but all of that is preparation, and
Hmm.
to help us in the long run, everything, all the steps are ordered. And so, no, hearing the journeys, and that's what, everybody want to see the glory, but no, nobody want to know the story. Like, no, no, no,
Right.
no, 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 no. Don't let me know when you struggling. Let me know when the film is in the blockbuster, and can I say I
Right.
seen you going to the Oscars? That's what I need to know. I don't need to know anything else.
Right.
Like,
That's it.
but yeah, and so many times, especially those people who don't understand the industry, are people that are around us that are watching, is always just like, well, why don't you? And it's like, listen.
Oh, oh man, that why don't you just make your like people tell me about that. I've been working on tattoo, getting funded for the last 5 years. Why don't you just make it? Just make it. I love when people say that, and at the same time, I'm just like, that means you don't understand what it means to really make this film, because nobody just makes of it. I mean, people are just making it, but they're not going anywhere with it, right? Like, I could
Hmm.
go and shoot this movie tomorrow, but it's not going anywhere if you don't put the right things into it. It's just like your body or your car. You put the wrong fuel in it. You don't plan out the trip. Like, I don't want to end up in a no man's land with a product that I can't do anything with. I want to be able to put this out and spark the next thing. And people, though there is a such thing as stagnation, right? So in the
Hmm.
meantime, I'm not just sitting on my hands waiting to make this movie. I'm making shorts. I'm writing other scripts. I'm consulting with other people. So working while you're working, right? Still working in the craft, but maybe not doing that first feature. But like I said, I gave myself an ultimatum of this to make this film within this year, the end of this year, beginning of next year, or I'm going to move on to another film, slide it in the drawer, and come back to it when I have some money, and write something else that I know that I can budget and film and get the money together to do. Um, but I also didn't want to give up on it prematurely, right? I didn't
Right.
want to get it going and get people. And lots of people have read the script and go, "Man, I can't wait till you get this going." That's great, and I love to hear it. But at the same time, it's like I got to get the money to do this right. Like, nothing. There's nothing worse than seeing something that could have been beautiful, could have been great, and it's flat. You
Mm.
know. Yeah, so
Yep.
yeah,
I
I,
think
I
I think everyone's experience is a bit different. Like, there are some people who can just go make a film, but they have certain things at their fingertips that everybody doesn't have, or they're at a different place for it. Then you have, people like, hey, it's going to take a minute because I want this right, you
that's
know.
right.
So because we're all in film for different reasons.
Hmm.
Some people are into filmmaking because they're just trying to make money. They see this is the truth. Some people are in filmmaking because it's an art, right? Some people are in filmmaking because they want to make money, but it's also an art. Some people are in filmmaking because it's a business industry and storytelling is their forte. They're good at telling stories. They don't want to write books. They don't want to do plays. They're like, hey, I want to make. I like
Oh, maybe
visual.
that's
Yeah, I
it.
want to make a movie, and so we're all different reasons, and so our journey will have similarities, but it also have those unique differences.
Hmm.
And that's what helps us forge who we are. It's like, even though we have similarities in our life experiences and we use those as storytellers, we use those experiences because we know the people we encountered at those various times in our life,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And it helps with the story. Like, hey, you were a student at Job Corps. I taught at Job Corps. You know, like, and I know plenty of people from Job Corps. Like, it's like, but that experience you cannot take away because you and I, we have a connection. We understand something that everybody else who hadn't experienced it won't understand it.
That's it.
And if we were to tell a story using Job Corps, we would have to convey that experience. But somebody who's experienced it will be like, yeah, they got that right.
That's
you know?
right.
You know, it's like making a movie about doctors or a TV show. Only the doctors are gonna know. Yeah,
If
they
it's
got
real.
yeah. Oh, they did do research. Oh, they knew what they were doing. And that's the thing. That's the beauty about storytelling and who we are and who we become. That experience.
Yeah, I use all of the different. I say I've lived 3 lifetimes, right? Because
Mhm.
when all the different lifetimes that I've gone through and different things that I've experienced, I use that to inform the screenplays that I write and to reach people. Like you come across so many different people, and and understanding how they think, how they to best reach them, right? And so I deal a lot in horror films or thrillers, and being able to tap into that makes it easier to scare them or make them uneasy or figure out how to approach this story that will reach this particular person. And so um yeah, it all feeds in.
Yeah, I read that. I was like, ooh, he specializes in horror film. Yeah.
Yep. I think horror is the way we talk about things that we're not comfortable talking about in everyday life. All right. And it's
Mhm.
all an allegory for all the things that we want to keep in the closet and hide from. I think about that. I think about Halloween being a film really about white flight and
Mm.
the fear of the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I start breaking down those different types of films, you look at what the real core theme is and what it's really talking about. All horror really is like the morality tales that we used to tell around the campfire to keep people from doing the thing, that they aren't supposed
Right.
to be doing, and, to keep your morals up. So I look at horror in that aspect. Obviously, there's a lot of horror out there, different genres of horror,
Mhm.
right? Very broad, um, very broad genre because you have thrillers, you have psychological thrillers, you got
Mhm.
slashers, you got all different forms of horror movies, and
Mhm.
some of them are very surface level, right? Like it is what it is, and then others have this little core that it's built on. I think Wes Craven was really good at that. I think Peele was good at it. Um,
Romero, Giorgio
Romero
Romero.
definitely good at it, right? And so all of these things that talk about society as a whole at its core are the things that horror movies should be addressing anyway, right? I want people when they see my movies to walk away, have a conversation about the thing, whatever the thing is. Speaking of the thing, that's a
Mhm.
great movie as well.
Who was the thing
That's
at
good.
the end?
I'm just scared of horror movies. It scare me. People are like, I end up having to do a rewrite on the horror. He's like, TK, I promise it's not like scary, just, but you can do it. And I was like, if I get scared one time, I quit. Like, I'm not doing this. Like back in
Not
the
I
day,
think.
it was funny. It was funny because D.L. Hughley talked about. I heard him talk about it one time. Back in the day, it's like Freddy Krueger, Jason, Last American Werewolf. Like watch all those movies. But today, oh no, Like I'm
Love
too scared. Like I can't. Like I'm scared.
it.
See,
Like,
they're not scary. They're just gory. Like that's really what they are. They're the same thing. There's just more blood and gore, and they push the envelope every now and then. But it's the same thing. Jason's still Jason. Michael's still Michael.
oh
But
yeah.
it now becomes a little bit more realistic because I remember not the most recent Halloween movie, but the one before that
Hmm.
when the neighborhood came to jump Michael Myers and they all was beating him up and like Because we used to ask ourselves, why they always go by themselves and fight them? Well, everybody just jump in it, and then that's what happened. And then something else happened. And the same thing with was it Texas Chainsaw Massacre? When he got on the bus, he was wrecking them. You know, you're like, oh, wait a second. Never mind.
Yeah. It's funny. Those, I think, again, horror is a product of its time, right? When we think about those films in the context of what's going on today, that is groupthink. Mm-hmm. That is now, instead of the lone wolf, the lone person that we turn to, it's a group dynamic that is being pushed, right? And what happens when one person is able to influence a group of people, which I think is the dumbest thing. In Michael Myers, in the last one, the one you're speaking of, they chase this guy through the hospital, right? And it's the wrong guy. It's obviously the wrong guy. And then we have this whole kind of group mob mentality, right? Which we have seen activated in the States now. Like this is very much what's going on in real time. And so to have that discussion about mob mentality and should this be a thing and why are we doing these things embedded in a movie in modern times, and we're looking at it in real time and people are going, well, yeah, they did the right thing. They came together. Like it's really a conversation starter.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and that's how movies have become today. I think we wanted more realism when we came to filmmaking. We said it as filmmakers, you know, oh, we watched the certain movies like that's not real. That's not what would happen. Why would somebody react that way? And then we put it in a movie, and you always got to figure out, you know, I had to realize as a writer, people react because of their personality and their experiences, right?
Yep.
So
true.
I may not react that way, but this person will. This is why you can watch the whole Power universe and realize none of the drug dealers are successful. They're going to get it at the end.
Everybody's going to jail.
They either die or they go to jail. There's only two options for this.
That's it.
They're just buying time. But because they made dumb decisions, you're like, wait, I wouldn't do that. Like, wait a second. But
you're like, why are you dating this woman? She's what? Sir.
You know, because when I watch a movie and somebody threatens somebody, like, I'll just go to the cops. You're like, yo, you said that out loud?
Well, dude, I'm going to just shoot you right now. Problem solved. Movie over. I can go have something to eat.
Yeah, there's some element of fantasy that, you know, we ask our audience to have, but then some things, like you said, it's just like I was watching Salt, and she jumped in the cab without her, like, she didn't have no purse or nothing. She was running, whatever. I forgot she was running for Angelina Jolie, and she jumps in the cab and takes off. I was like, now my friends would have been like, now TK, she did not have her purse, so how was she gonna pay for the cab? Like,
because she wasn't.
And I'm like, it's a movie.
Pay for no
it's
cab.
a movie.
She needed to escape.
Yeah,
to pay for this.
You ain't thinking about that.
Yeah,
but
Uber?
Like my friends, like they'll be. It's like that. So it's kind of like funny because I walk the line now when I'm writing. I'm thinking, what are they gonna say? What is my first draft reader gonna say about this? So I walk the line between the fantasy and so I make it slightly realistic, but not really. You know what I mean? So it's like I walk that line. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I wrote the movie when I wrote the movie about the girls and the Disney movie. Yeah, it's
It's always about suspended disbelief.
I don't want to say that loud because it's actually like a high concept film. And
you can get away with a whole lot if you can get the audience.
But that one had a lot of fantasy in it. Michael read it. But that one had a lot of fantasy in it. But I made it realistic fantasy. Like I did my research and I'm like, this is how you do this and this is how you do that. And then the element of fantasy was making the thing come alive. So my Frankenstein, hey, it's Frankenstein. I made a Frankenstein movie.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they are. That's when we talked about Weird Science, that's nothing but Frankenstein just looking good, right?
Yeah,
You know,
I
like
didn't even realize that.
so, what's up? Good morning, Jamal. Good morning. Thaddeus, your dad said he loves you. My brother. Look at that. Dad's like, I'm joining. I'm watching my son.
Yeah.
I'm a support.
That's
That's
right.
what I talk about. That's
Aw.
support right there.
I love him too. I love you, Pop.
Oh. Look
But
like,
Yeah.
oh.
a
I
quick
wish I had.
interruption. Because
But
Yvonne said, I'm working on a pitch deck to angel investors. Thank you for your help, Dr. Jones.
woohoo!
Absolutely. My pleasure. My
Yes,
pleasure,
Black
man.
Film Lounge
Love to
Connection.
touch base with you and see what we
Thomas is working on something too. You see Thomas's?
Yes, let's go to Thomas's. Thomas said, FYI, getting back in the saddle, working on my next feature film about sci-fi, about an artificial intelligence robot story. Should be filming in the fall of this year. Bringing on crew from my last project.
That's
Awesome.
There
awesome.
you go. I love to see filmmakers doing their thing, like especially the family. Everybody's because when we say because
Yes.
Thaddeus has been on the calls and stuff. We all like get to talking and giving advice to people and be like, yo, this is what you need to do. This is how, you know. But everybody's like you said, we're at all different stages, man. And
Oh yeah.
it's
A lot
it's
of our people are
interesting.
doers.
But I have you guys ever traveled into film groups or non-film groups and listen to what people say about movies? Like
All
it's the same movie, and you're like, they all are.
they all are. There's only 7 stories, folks. We're telling them over and over and over again. Yeah,
Look, I'm like,
oh, totally. I totally go into non-film. One, because I want to hear what the average person who's not working on a movie is thinking about different films.
Mhm.
yeah.
And two, it tempers my expectations on what I expect people to think of my film, because if I don't have the quote unquote budget of a Disney or Lionsgate or whoever, and we're doing these independent films, I know I need to focus way more on the story being good than all the other little things that people are using now to sell, the hype of the virtual production and all this different stuff. Like I don't have that kind of budget, so I know that my stories have to be unique. They have to be something that is a variation or deep variation of something that's familiar. And so, like to your point about we're all telling the same stories. It's just about how we package them. Yeah. Well, what's the story that's out now? The angry girl and her monster. I
Oh,
think
that because that her brother, yeah, angry
right,
black girl and her monster, yeah,
right.
and
That's
it's
Frank, which like you said, which is Frankenstein,
mm-hmm.
right? Just repackaged and retold, and maybe the theme is going to touch the intended audience.
It's a
Black.
social commentary. That's what Frankenstein was, social commentary. But in this, it's for the black. It's a social commentary in that movie is more so. The angry girl is the sister of the monster because that's her brother who was killed in a gang violence.
Yep.
And he's seeking revenge. That's the premises.
Oh wow! Is this it's a film
it's a
or
feature? It's a
Yeah,
feature. It was at ABFF, and it's about to come out. I think either in the theaters or on Amazon, one of those things.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
And so
interesting.
we're just repackaging these things and hitting an audience, retargeting these films for different audiences, right?
Yeah.
I know folks that will say, "Oh, I'll never sit and watch a horror film or whatever," and then later on, once it's repackaged for them, they don't realize it that it's a thriller, but it's a horror film. It's just been repackaged for you to be more palatable for you.
And it depends because you could take that same premises. Girl loses a brother to a drive-by. Wants to bring him back to life.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? She brings him back to life. You can make a horror film. You can make a comedy. You can make social commentary. I mean, they could all be social commentary, but you could do more of a drama of her not wanting to let go of her past and the damage that's doing to the family, and the brother's still in front of them falling apart, right? Because he can't stay long, and she has to accept it, but also there's a change.
Onward. But when you talk about those movies, I'm just sitting up there thinking about movies, and you're talking about her brother bringing her brother back, and I was thinking about the movie with what is it, Cordelia, with the thin girl, the thin bright girl. She dressed up and she was going in killing all the cartel that killed her family.
Oh, Josie Sadana, that was Columbia.
Columbia.
Colombiana.
And then when you talked about the brother in front of her and disappearing, how he started disappearing, I thought about Onward. Remember?
Right. No, but I'm saying that's the thing is one story can be done for different genres. Yes. And it depends on who's telling the story. And that's why you have us. Because how I see something, Thaddeus is going to see it differently. And he goes, because you know what? There was a perfect thing. It was on, I think, Stars or one of those channels. It was called Green Light or whatever. And basically, it was a guy who played the villain and played Spock in the new Star Trek. I forgot his name right now. And he took on 3 different film directors. And he gave them each a script. The same script. They could do it the way they wanted to do it. They could make minor changes, but they could not change certain things. Each of them could not change the certain things in the script. But they could do the movie as they see fit. But those things in the certain things in those scripts, they had to stay true. And it was through all 3 of them. One young lady had already done a film before with her husband. So they decided to direct and produce that one. The other guy was a YouTube channel guy. The other person ended up falling off. Like they didn't finish. Or something happened. And so they all had the same budget. Support. They got that from, they had to get their crew and everything. And they all ran into their different problems, issues. One of them turned it into a comedy. The other one did it kind of like a Juno type of film, right? The other one, I forgot what they were doing because, again, like it fell off. And so it was the same project. And they wanted to see the person who had packed the theaters, made the most money, is the one that won. Crazy enough, the YouTuber put himself in it. He directed it. He played multiple characters in it. And what ended up happening, and this is a show, you can go watch it. I'm trying to remember the exact name of it, but you can go watch this. It's a season, I think it's like 10 episodes, and you can see the final movies. But because he's a YouTuber, he packed it when he showed up to the theater. But when he was not there, no one came to see it. The girl, it didn't start off well, but it started building momentum. And she didn't have to show up to every theater because she had the film experience. So there was a difference in how they did it. So,
That's what, they talk about now. One of the investor links I was talking to, he was like, talking about how they actually are casting different because of the influence of, social media influence. So he was like, what about Jack Harlow? Do you have a part for him? I'm like, who is Jack Harlow? And I have to go research it. But they're like, and of course it made me think like, do I have to put a social media influencer in my film just to,
So let me shock you. Y'all saw Bobby Brown. Y'all saw the new edition. Y'all watched Power, book 2. Kanan. Bobby Brown. I recognize him from his influencer because he and his crew, Melvin Gregg, if you go see the new Awake, the Blackening, Melvin Gregg, they all used to come together, and they still do from time to time, Splack, all of them, and they're all actors. And they started doing skits on the Vine, Instagram, Facebook, now YouTube. And it's a whole crew of them, and they pushed them, and they got into, they're all in different movies now and everything. And their career.
And that's the power of networking, of like getting your people together and just being consistent. Because like you said, I followed Splat when they were just doing the little vines, the little quick, short, funny sketches. Melvin Gregg, and you still see them all the time. But that crew pushed each other, worked with each other, and did all of these little pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that when one of them got in the door, it was easier to say, well, I know somebody who's got just as many followers, and he'd be great to play this role, to open up this other whatever. And when you're talking with investors, they are looking for how many people are you going to be able to get eyeballs on this particular film so I can get my money back as quickly as possible. And if I can
Yeah.
guarantee that I'm going to bring on a YouTuber or someone who already has a following. And the
Yep.
difference between a real influencer and somebody who's just doing it for clout is that when they ask their people to show up, they show up.
Mm-hmm.
When they
Woo!
ask people and buy T-shirts, they buy T-shirts. They
Right.
do these different things. And so just having the followers is not enough. It's having the actual influence to be able to say, hey, I'm going to be in this film. I need y'all to show up this weekend. Hey, we're selling T-shirts and merch already. Go pre-order. And I was trying to tell people, when they are starting out and trying to get their funding together, if you have access to an influencer that actually can influence their audience, pre-fund, pre-sell your movie. Get them to pre-order the DVD or the flash drive or the download ahead of time. That's how you fund it if you've got these access to these people already. And
Wow.
that's changing the model for how you can make your independent film if you have access or you create access to a following on a consistent basis.
And that's where business-wise, independent filmmakers, I always say you need to know marketing and you need to know networking. Like there's a difference between marketing and a difference between networking. Like people confuse marketing and PR. They're two different things, two different animals. And if you don't understand them, you're gonna make the mistakes. And this is why I'm always like, stay out of film groups trying to shop your film. That's the worst way to do it. Everybody in there is selling a film. I'm not gonna be a shoe salesman that walks into a shoe convention and be like, buy these shoes. Everybody's selling shoes. That's not where I belong. I need to go somewhere where no one sells shoes, where no one's doing what I'm doing, or find the shoes that fit the audience. Hey, if I'm doing sports sneakers, then I need to go into where a gym or a fitness place and sell sports sneakers. If I'm selling dress shoes or casual shoes, and when I understand that aspect of business is when I make the right moves. And this is why I find a lot of filmmakers complaining because they go where they're comfortable, not where they need to.
That's it. I did not understand that until I sat for probably 3 years with a mentor who spent 30 years in advertising. It's still a good friend of mine to this day. And I did not understand that marketing aspect of how to convey my story to the people that actually need to hear it. How to be what he calls being human, right? Just be human. When you're selling these things, you're not selling. People don't buy by logic. It's the emotional tie to whatever it is. So you have to make them feel, right? And once he started breaking it down to me, I was like, oh, this makes total sense, right? If people buy by how you make them feel, that's what they're going to remember. And so he started showing me all of the different advertising throughout the years that did not have anything to do with the product. It was all about the feeling that was elicited from the advertisement, right?
So it's the
And
pathos.
Say that again.
Pathos. Ethos, logos, pathos.
Pathos. That's right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's good.
And so when he drew that connection for me, then it became a lot easier to see how to put myself and my films out there without, and again, to your point, I don't go to the film groups looking to sell my DVDs. That's not why. Everybody's doing the same thing, right? So I'm going to a place where that segment that I'm serving, whatever it is missing. And then I'm telling the story about, what the impact is for me in this area and making it personable to them. How do they relate to this thing that I'm selling. And that's a hard thing, right? It's not an easy fix. You have to really sit down and understand who it is you're trying to reach and what's important to them. It's never about you.
Mm.
And that's what, and I try to explain that to people in regards to writing, because a lot of times we have projects and people are like, circle around us. It's like, oh, I love it. I'm like, listen, I didn't ask you, did you like it? It's about the project. It's not about me, my feelings, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to make sure that I'm putting out the best project possible. And I need your honest opinion. What did you not like? And explaining that to people, when you're doing table reads and when you're doing, us as filmmakers trying to get honest feedback, because some people are just, well, it was cool. What does that mean? That doesn't help me.
It's
So,
really hard.
us as filmmakers and our black filmmaker community and filmmakers across the world, it should never be about us. We were created to create. So we have to make sure that we are feeding the audience as we've been told to feed, not just to. So you like my enchiladas? Do you like them? Do you like them? Do you like them? How they taste? Are they good? Are they good? Are they good? They taste good, huh?
You know
They
why?
like.
Because we don't want to. People don't want to offend people, and the greatest offense to me is the lie.
Oh, totally.
That's the
Don't
greatest
lie to me. If
offense.
you don't like it, just say you don't like it.
Yeah,
Just say you don't like it.
Tell the truth. Because here's the thing: I get better because of the truth.
Yes.
I get worse. I stay bad. I stay worse because of the lie. And here's where you have to decide about and this is what I mean by the lie isn't whether you like it or not. The lie is, if I don't like you, I don't need to judge your material because of how I feel about you. That's the worst mistake you can make. If I like you, I don't need to judge your material based on because I like you. I need to judge it for what it is. How I feel about you is void. I'm not. But as how I feel about you selling a product, would I buy from you if I don't like you? Well, probably not. But is it a worthy product to buy? Would I go buy it if somebody else sold it to me? That's what I need to know. And that's where, I think my greatest advice was my dad. When I did my first feature, he said, it's the people at the top that go, oh, I like it, I love it. Said, forget about them. The people at the bottom, oh, I hate it, it's horrible. They can't tell you why. Forget about them. He says the person in the middle that tells you, hey, I like this, but I don't understand this, but then this over here, and then why did you do this? And boom, because they're really trying to bring it out of you, the best, and really get a deeper understanding because they become invested in your work.
Yeah, we when we see this over and over, it's like one of the things I tell my students: be careful who you get opinions from everybody, but be careful who you internalize that opinion from, right? Because it's somebody who doesn't understand what you're doing, is not in that world. They might be the best person to try to get some raw feedback from because they just don't understand. Somebody who is in the industry, they might be too harsh on you because they wouldn't have done it this way, that way, and whatever, right? And so you have to just be careful. And then there's obviously there are people who just aren't going to like anything you do because it's you. And that's another thing. Some of those people masquerade as friends, as allies, and they read your stuff just to go, man, you see this is terrible. And then they come back to you, oh man, it's great. It's awesome. And, you try to temper the folks that you keep in that pot around you, right? So that you know, and to your point, to the point about my mentor earlier, I know if I give him something, he's gonna find something in it that can make me better. And I might not like it. I might not. Same reason, I let my wife who has a master's in screenwriting as well read everything. She's super hard on everything. And so she's like, yeah, I don't like this. I don't like that. Why'd you do this? What is this all about? Like, and then I'm all like, well, you don't know how you. And then I, you know what I'm saying? So you have to take a minute and internalize that and see what's valid, what's not. Keep what's valid. Let the rest fall away. and keep refining your craft. I always look at it like the production triangle. To your point, um, you know, good, fast, and cheap. Right? It's the same thing when you talk about the ethos, logos, and pathos. Right? It's the same structure. Of you can have two of these kinds of any two of these, right, at one time, but you can't have all three. And when you think about critiquing, it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same thing, right? You have somebody who is going to actually read this and critique it, and it's not going to be fast. They're going to really go through it, and we want instant gratification. We want them to read it yesterday and tell us exactly, how to fix it. All right. Then you have somebody who's not going to read it at all and just tell you how great it is. And then you have that person that's in the middle that is going to really kind of go through and try to understand where you were coming from. And you want a little bit of everything, right? You want two of these to really balance out. So yeah, and stop writing oh my God, I'm sorry. Stop writing the first draft and thinking that it's like it's gold. That's the like I have to teach people over and over. Writing is rewriting. Like
refining,
yeah, constantly. Because you can tell. We can tell when we've got a first draft and like, okay, this is a first draft. It needs a little work here and there. Some new writers are like, well, no, it's finished. Like, no, it's not finished. You need to
Okay. It's the best script ever, and I'm done.
Who else is?
Yeah.
But see, I think
I've
that's
been
the
there.
great that's the great personal lie. Like this is the best. Nah, it can always be better. Now you also have to know when to cut it off. Like
That's true too.
You can't be a
Woo,
perfectionist.
listen.
But it's the first one is never the best. You know,
Right.
because I can look at my projects past today and be like, oh, I could have did this way much better. Oh, that would have been so much. Even though they might have done some of the things I wanted them to do, they could have did a lot more.
I look at my first film all the time just to keep myself like, okay, we've come a long way. We still got a long way to go. I look at that film and go, ugh. Like my very first film in school, not the VHS one, but the one that I really wrote and put everything into and did all these different parts was called The Syndicate. And I shot it and so in love with it, and we showed it, and I was like, oh, that's a bad cut. Oh, the audio is bad. Oh, why did I frame it like that? Oh, and I keep that film so I can every once in a while I go back and go like, okay, we're not here anymore. Thank God.
What was your biggest mistake? Like, what was the mistake that you're like, man, I wish somebody had told me?
In that film, finding real actors.
Oh, wow.
Finding real actors, because it's hard to get. I've worked with a lot of new coming actors, which is great, but finding people that really want to learn that craft, because it's hard to direct someone who doesn't want to necessarily be directed. I think that was a big mistake, and you cannot wear every single hat. You can't light and direct and stunt coordinate and rewrite scenes. Like you can't do it all. Build a great. I wish somebody had told me to be. I can't say that. Somebody did tell me. They just told me later. You want to be evenly yoked.
Well, I mean, at that time, that's why I said at the time, because better now. Like, my thing would be definitely actors, certain actors, because honestly, I had really good actors around who did their part well. It was maybe others who didn't bring it like they could have, but they didn't force themselves. They didn't push themselves. They didn't release themselves. But like, I'll tell you, my mistake in editing, I did some fades where it should just been cuts.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I wasn't, and I wish somebody say, no, you don't fade it, you cut it.
I probably have a ton of those out there. Just learning the craft of editing is a skill in itself, right? The cut to the fade or the cross dissolve, all that means something. And so when I'm talking to people now, I teach an editing class now. It's like, why did you choose to fade to black after every single shot? Like, you're just like,
yeah, or cross dissolve. Yeah, like you were
yeah,
using transitions when you didn't have to.
when you didn't have to. Like, yeah, absolutely. All that means stuff, and I think that is an amateur way of editing as well. When you start off, I used to
Yes.
put a transition between everything,
Right.
across fade, just all over the place. And that is not, that's a very amateur way of trying to tell a story. Once you start realizing that each one of those things means something, but two, each one of those is a distraction, right? It's a break, it's a release, it's something that's going on in the psyche of the audience, that by putting it there, you're keying on something. You're taking their attention away from something and putting it someplace else, or you are merging the two together and not understanding why.
Mm-hmm.
And so, getting people to understand that aspect, I think me earlier, I wish somebody had just said, "Stop it! Don't do that."
I like
That's
this
terrible.
right here. Bronx LT said, I feel like Melvin Van Peebles was the only one who could wear all those hats. Laugh out loud. Melvin Van Peebles wore a lot of hats. When you go back and
Yeah.
look at his history of filmmaking, you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. But he also wore those hats because he had to,
Mm.
right? And then because sometimes the person he brought in wouldn't do it the way, or they challenge his, like, you sure you want this? Like, well, yeah, do it, man. And they're like, well, and then he had to do it. Or, hey, we can't do that scene. No, we're going to do this way, stuff like that.
That's it.
And I think that's where you run into wearing hats when you don't need to, is when you have, like you were saying earlier, those unevenly yoked people in your crew who don't
Yes.
really see the vision. They're just there.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of crews, especially in the independent side, you get a lot of people that are just warm bodies, just hands and placeholders, and they don't really give a lot of thought into their particular craft. And that's one of the things I'm most proud of, I guess, in our little crew here, is that the people that we work with are really intense on getting better at their craft. We've
Yeah.
got people that are really working on cinematography to understand why I use this lens, why this camera over this camera, why do
Mm-hmm.
I move the camera this way, when is it better to do this? If I do that, they're asking the right questions to get a better take on how to execute their craft. Writers the same way, they're researching and diving deeper into their character development, so that the character feels so real to you by the time you finish it. It's like, this person lives. That's what you want, right? When you're dealing with, as a director, you have to understand people and actors. I don't understand when directors are directing, but they don't understand people, and they don't understand how
Mm-hmm.
to get people to a place to do the thing that they're asking of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like, oh, I want you to show up and cry. Like, yeah, there are some actors that may be able to do that. There are other actors that need you to give them and put them in the situation to get that motivation, that they can draw upon that emotion and bring it out during the scene. You have to be able to provide that space for that actor to actually do that work. And if you're a overbearing director, right,
Mm-hmm.
and time, it's just not going to be conducive to getting the performance that you want.
Oh
So
yeah. I remember I had to ask an actor to cry, and at first she couldn't. She was like, I'm trying," and I said, "Just relax for a moment. Now think about a moment, one of your worst moments in your life, or a moment in your life that hit your heart the most." And as soon as she did it, she's like, "I can't even stop the tears now." Like,
yeah,
but it's like, that's, you got to help them get into that place. That's what a director does. They help
that's
you
it.
get there. They know what they want, but you're helping your actor give it to you, and you're helping them become the character. Like, I think the issue or sometimes I may have with an actor is, sometimes I'll be like, "You're acting. I know you're acting, but I don't
Yeah,
want
Yes.
you to act. I want you to
Yes.
become the person."
I want you to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Just be in it. Just do. Yeah.
Be
Just
that
be in it.
person.
But
Like,
you gotta. plan it out and act it out. Like it's like, baby, you're acting, you're looking like Dolomite. Now listen, you don't need to take a step back. I'm
Yeah.
telling, and it's hard. It's really hard for me being on, like when I go work on sets as a PA or crew, or whatever on sets. I'm sitting there like this. Like some of the times I really don't. I'm outside. Like I can't even be inside because it's like some of the acting are just like eat me so alive. Like I just like, oh, I gotta get out of here.
So many
I can't
people
say it.
want to
I gotta get out of
direct,
Mhm.
but they don't want to do the research and the study of how to actually direct. They think they just can show up and tell you what to do, and that's all it takes to be a director. But the actual truth of that is you have to understand the psyche of people, how to tap into getting
here.
a person from their normal state of who they are to being this actor, and they have to be willing to do that work with you. And so to my point earlier about having the right actors, like don't just fill a role.
Mhm.
Find the right person that embodies that role so that it's an easier trail to walk to get them to
Yes.
becoming this person. And you'll know it when you see it because it'll blow you. It'll give you goosebumps. It'll blow you away. You're like, yeah, that's this person. That's this character. I knew it from right. Versus you know it when it's wrong too. You like,
But you know what? So Tiffany, my wife, brought it to my attention. And we got to send you the video, TK. She didn't know if you watch Power and stuff, but they have a podcast called The Crew. Michael Rainey and the other gentleman, they both have this podcast, and they had Courtney Kemp on there, which was the writer, creator of Power. And they asked Courtney. Courtney was talking about who the people who auditioned for Ghost originally. And she always wanted Amari Hardwick, so she got her first choice. But she said if Amari had said no, she would have went with Boris Cujo.
can't see
your face has changed, but she said when Boris Cujo did his audition, he brought it. And he speaks Boris speaks multiple languages. He's from Germany. So, yeah. And so the thing is, you might not see it, but I could see it. Like I was like, yo, I could see that, because if you know how well people can act and you're playing a villain. Actually, I have an actor that I work with. He loves playing the bad guy.
They're so much fun. Yeah,
because it's freedom in that. And then that's, sometimes when you're thinking about it, you're like, because there's Samuel Jackson, a couple of, they always tell you, when you play the villain, you have a lot more freedoms than you do playing a good guy or whatever, because a good guy has to be a certain way. The villain, you get to bring nuances and stuff to that character that you wouldn't have the freedom to do with other characters.
Yeah, I think villains are definitely more fun to play. They're definitely more fun to see them become real. When you get somebody who is able to bring that extra layer of, you like, damn, I didn't even think about it like that. So instead of just coming up and hitting them, maybe I'll come up and I'll smile first and say, "You talked to your mama lately?"
Yeah, exactly.
Think about it. That's what we remember.
That's good dialogue right there. That's good dialogue.
Hey, auntie. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, which was a totally ad-lib line, right? That hey auntie that is infamous now in our community, was like, it has become the subject of memes, was a total ad-lib. Not in the script. You just walked in and like, what do I say? Hey auntie. Like, whoa. Mind blown, right? Yeah, that is his.
But that's where the classic stuff comes from. Like, the thing is, the guy, you get those little freedoms from your actors, and you got to let them be free a little bit. Like, I will say this, me personally, I would like, don't deviate from the script, at least for the first couple of shots. Let me get what I want. Then I'll let you play around with it. I even let actors bring something to it, but I want to see. Because if what I want doesn't work, it just doesn't work. And I'm fine with that. But if what you did works, and I'm like, I wanted this, but then they did this. I had an actor when we did our the web series, and he's like he's meeting the fiance of the woman he was with cheating on his wife, and he's like, y'all make such a lovely couple. And we were like, yo, where does this guy come from? Such a lovely
Yo, and that right there is like when the audience was like, "Oh, this dude on another level." Like that's that.
Yeah.
I'm in here and I'm in here because she's gonna be like, "I know he did not just."
Yeah,
Wow.
and it was like, and he did it. Like he perfectly played this villain, but again, he had the freedoms to do certain things, and he did it. And when he did it, it worked. You know, and that's
To the point, as a director, I want to get what I want on the page, or if I'm a writer director, I want to get that. But at the same time, like you said, and this is one of the things we talk about in the film camps that I do with the young filmmakers is like, yeah, get what you need, get your safety stuff first, right, and then play, then have fun. Just try it a bunch of different ways. Give it to me as many different ways as you think, right? And that's when you have the luxury of time and budget to do those things, which is
Right.
another reason why we just don't go and shoot stuff, right? Because if we want to make the best movie possible, we have to have what I call room for God. We have to have room for God to come in the room and tap that person and give them the idea to do this little extra thing. And if you
Right.
are pressed for time, if you are trying to make your day and you don't have the budget, which we all are, right? But you don't have the room to be able to expand that, it's really, really hard to have room for God to come in the room because you just don't have the time. And you're just going, I need to make my day, period.
Yep. Just cookie cut, like it's cookie cutter. Up, 3 takes are out through the wide, the close up, over the shoulder, out. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And that, believe it or not, a lot of people are shooting like that because they have a constraint, money constraint or time and a location constraint, right? Uh,
yes,
you just really need to, and I understand it's a business, right? But at the same time, like we talked about earlier, the art of that needs to happen as well. Or every movie is going to be a Tubi movie. Nothing wrong with Tubi movies. There's some great Tubi movies out there,
there
but
are some
there's some
great.
that you know that they rushed it.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
some out there that you can tell like this was so good had they just let it breathe a little bit
I think,
instead of
but that's any movie.
breathing right
Like
there, breathing.
it's any movie because, excuse me, the industry is a cookie cutter industry. Let's be honest about the film industry. It always been a cookie cutter. That's what studios do: get them in, get them out, and fill seats and make a buck. People are not in the business of investing and losing money unless they absolutely have to. Like they know when they have to because they're cutting ties. If you look at Warner Brothers when they cut $100 million film with Batwoman, they knew they were cutting ties. They knew they were changing and shifting, so they were
yep,
willing to take the loss. On the
yep.
independent film side, we're not looking to take loss. So what we're doing is, even on the lower budget, we need to be more creative and finite in our thinking.
That goes back to the original thing, and this is what I tell all the filmmakers I'm working with now that are doing this for business. Is like develop your marketing plan up front, because if you are making a film and you don't have a plan on how because what we say is even bad movies make money. Even bad movies can make money if you have a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you're not going to make money anyway, right? It's just more likely than not, your film is going to languish on some platform. Nobody's going to know it's there, and it could be great, and you didn't have a plan to get it in front of people, right? Those butts and seats. Now, but with the indie filmmakers, we have a very unique opportunity, especially in this space and time, that we don't need to have huge budgets to do it. We just need to have really good plans for executing, right? So even on a smaller budget, even a 15,000, I say 15 to 50, you can make your money back. Why? Because it's a smaller budget. If you have excellent marketing plan in place, and it doesn't have to be a cookie cutter film. You can actually take risk, right? If you have that plan, if you know who that audience is going to be, if you know what platform you're going on, if you're going to target, which is one of the other things I don't see independent filmmakers doing, is using the tools to market their film to their audience instead of they're marketing it to other filmmakers, which is wrong.
Right. On all levels.
On all levels. Yes, sir. So I think that, and that's what some of the work that I'm doing with the USC with the School of Business, is that we're understanding that there's a business component to this. A lot of people teach the creative aspect. Nobody is teaching independent filmmakers how to turn this into a lucrative business. Everybody is doing trial and error. And we are in a time right now where if you have a business degree and understand business as an independent filmmaker, you can make bank.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get your seed money, if you can get your startup money to do the first film with a real marketing plan, you can make money. It may not be, 100 million on the opening money, but it'll be enough money to continue to make films if that's what you want to do.
I think the mistake is aiming for the millions when you can't even take. I'm gonna be real. If you could take $500 and turn it into a decent film, and then you turn around and you make $50,000 off of the five, somebody's gonna say, "Wait, you did what? So what if I gave you 50,000? Like, hold up, what if you had 50,000? How could you?" And and that's why I tell people, if you really want to research people who've done stuff like that, Ryan Coogler is one of those people. Yep. Every film he's taken the budget, and he's like ridiculously made money off. When he did Fruitvale Station, when he did Rocky, when he did Black Panther, both of them, he still hit to almost $1 billion on the second one, or he's probably hit $1 billion at this point on the second one. The first one was the first one to break over $1 billion of independent superhero films.
Mm-hmm. Being a good steward of whatever resources you have is the key to getting the door unlocked with more on the other side. So, when we started making films, we were money out of pocket, right? $100. I think we made Jenna for, I want to say, less than $300. Like feeding people what we already had, and it opened up some other doors for us. Then we made the next one, and we started doing the 48-hour film festivals and training people to work fast in those kinds of environments. And then we started doing $500 films, short films, and they started winning film festivals overseas and things of that nature. So it just is an incremental step up every time. But if you can't steward the $150, if you can't steward the $500, nobody's going to give you $50,000. Nobody's going to give you $15,000 if you can't deliver on the 150 to 500, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
To your point, I think that's one of the things that is glossed over for us as independent filmmakers, is that we think, oh, I just need to buy the camera, I need to buy the lights, I need to have those things on deck, and then somebody will give me money to make a film, and that's not the thing.
No, and I think that's our biggest mistake, is thinking people want to give money. If you're not well invested in you, why would I? Yeah, you bought the cameras, you got the stuff. That means you could actually go shoot something. So if you work the extra job, maybe you just pay your actors out of pocket, and then, because then now you're just looking for the money to use to pay people and pay for the other needs. You got all the equipment, and that's how I kind of looked at it. That's how I kind of pretty much have looked at most of my projects. Was we've come out of pocket. It's
when easy to get return on investment that way.
Yeah.
If I front all the money, right? I've got all the, I have my gear. I've got partners that have gear. So we don't have to, there might be one or two things that if we need it, we could go and rent it, right? But that's automatically taking a chunk out of the budget. Most of our budget money is to take care of my people. I want to pay them. I want to feed them well. I don't want them to have to come out of pocket to travel to where we're shooting. And the last thing is like locations, right? And locations, props, and all those other little things. That's it. There's nothing is coming back to pay me, or you know what I mean. I'm taking care of my people because I know that on the back end of this, I got a plan. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm going to be compensated. I ain't worried about me. I'm worried about taking care of my people up front so that they can make sure that they want to work with me again. Two, they know that when I call them for a project, it's not no hemming and hawing. Hey, so I need you to work 12 hours and I'll pay you, 12 hours for the next 3 days and I'll pay you in 90, 180 days. Like these people live check to check, like they're freelancers. And that's another big problem with like work government grants and things of that nature. You have to have the money to bankroll that up front. I just turned down a script because it was grant funded, and I did not have the money to bankroll the production up front, and it was a hard thing to do. But I really wanted to make sure my people were taken care of. I can't ask crew to come and work and hold off for 90 days to get paid. It just doesn't work that way for them.
And that's business, because then you have to understand that I see a lot of people's businesses fail because they didn't have money to pay the people, and they kept taking the money they were making and putting it back into the product or the service or the work, but they weren't putting money aside so they can make sure their employees are paid. And so what ends up happening, and this is just the worst thing for entrepreneurs, a lot of people take on jobs so they can pay the people who are working those jobs. Like, oh, we got to get this job because that way I can pay you. Like, no, your workers should be knowing they're getting a consistent check. Their job is just to work. And you're taking on jobs to keep working. And then you're already putting money aside. And so I think that's how businesses are badly running. Like, if you're going to take a business loan, you take the loan that is going to payroll.
Yep.
So then your people are taken care of. They're going to produce good work. When their job is on the line, they got like, we don't get this contract, y'all gonna lose your jobs. They're ready to jump ship.
That's it.
And that's the worst place to be.
And this business is no different. Filmmaking is no different than any other industry. People want to be a part of something great, but they also want to know that at the end of the day, their check is not going to bounce. They're going to get paid on time because they have other obligations. And I think that is one of the biggest things that I really I've been focusing on here, because there's levels, right? There's your novice level, and then there are people that are doing this as a business. And if you're doing this as a business, that aspect of it means you need to, from soup to nuts, know how you're going to pay folks, where's your next project coming from, or how you're gonna fund that payroll for those people. And it's not a per project, even though each project is technically a new business. It's not well, I got to build the funding from ground up every single time.
Right.
Absolutely. So we're gonna do this a little bit backwards. If you guys got questions while we're talking about this part, go ahead and drop the questions in. I know we had some responses. Darrell said, until recently, it was so hard for me to give my cast notes. I was too scared, but after I got over the fear, it made our collaboration better. I don't know why I keep doing the eyes and it's. It's early. My glasses. Nah, it's just a mistake morning of the day. But so we usually start off with the what you watching, but we jump right into it in the very beginning. So, Thaddeus, what have you been watching this week, or what did you see?
I went and saw The Blackening. Thoroughly enjoyed that. It is a movie that I would say you definitely want to see in a theater full of black people. I found it very entertaining, even though yeah, we found ourselves that opening. I don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
Um,
It comes from a
but
skit.
yeah, I saw the sketch on the Black Lady Sketch Show, and yeah, the opening was hilarious. I found it to be. My wife and I, we were looking at each other when the opening happened, and they kind of just look at each other. You're just like, oh, we real meta here. This gonna be fun. I saw the Flash, um, which again I didn't think was terrible, but I wasn't a fan of the ending. Kind of was just like a little.
I heard
Um,
that a lot. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I think that again, with the whole Ezra Miller and his situation, and Warner Brothers just was like, listen, we're gonna punt this thing and figure out how we're gonna reboot this whole universe, and so we'll just put it out here.
Mm-hmm.
And what else have I seen? I've been I watch the same stuff a lot, so I've been rewatching horror movies, so Alien and Aliens. I don't watch a lot of TV per se. I watch more movies, and then uh, uh, investigation discovery. I watch a lot of true crime
Okay.
because I find it so interesting to build that world up inside of what I write. So how to make it, to your point earlier about being more realistic. Well, life is strange enough. So if I watch enough of this, so I'm like, somebody actually did that. Okay, how do I take this and twist it and take it to the next level for what I'm writing? So I'm working on quite a few projects right now, script wise, and so I'm always looking for that kind of fodder, right? Let's keep the wheels turning a little bit, like
Mm-hmm.
the strangeness of life and people and why we do certain things, and infusing that into the horror films that I'm writing. So, what?
That's good. Yeah, I saw some of those same movies. What, you going to meet TK? You ain't watched nothing, TK? TK must
I've
have been
been
working.
grinding so hard this last week. Like I did take my schedule down, my script schedule down, and did some tweaking on the because I decided to shoot it 12 days with 2 days and have 2 days extra for reshoots or anything. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put that in the plan, so I don't have to get like cast and crew back together to shoot. And then if we don't shoot, I'm still paying you guys for those 2 days anyway. But because, like you said, they work from check to check. These freelancers, they literally will leave a job at 1 o'clock in the morning and got to be on the next film at 8 o'clock the next morning. So I'm like, I already know the mentality because I see it when we on set. They're like moving, so I'm like, nope, I'm gonna block them out for 2 extra days. That way,
Yeah, the
Yeah,
mom
yeah.
from Raising Canaan, Raising Canaan. She said when she was doing the first season, she was not only going on set acting, but was doing a play.
dang.
Yeah. So she would
Yeah,
come
they these
and then
people
go do
move
the
and
play.
groove. So I'm like literally, like I'm watching y'all jump from movie to movie to movie, and we're all talking about it on set. So I'm like, listen, let me do this the smart way. Come on, Lord, like wisdom. So let me do this the smart way. So I was like, but I can shoot it in 12 days, and not be like overextend everybody. Like I'm only shooting 6 to 7 pages a day, um, and then be able to use those last 2 days for. So I did that and did a couple of other things, but in regards to the schedule and stuff. But that's it. And then I've been grinding.
Darrell said he
What is
watched
the bear?
the second season of The Bear. That show reminded him of why he loved storytelling and the type of stories he wanted to see, wanted to tell. So he said it was such a great story. So there you go, The Bear. I haven't
I
watched
need
The
to look
Bear,
that up.
but I gotta
I
check
haven't
it out.
seen- I've seen the advertisement for it. I think it's about like a pop up kitchen or some kind of chef.
Oh, really? I have to check that out. So I saw The Flash. I just saw it yesterday, actually. Yeah, the ending. A lot of CGI. I was like, they put their money in this because the CGI looked unfinished. So some of the work looked like they were still working on it, and they just said, let's just throw it out. We're done with this anyway. And I didn't care too much for how it ended. Like I really was hoping they would bring some things back, even though it was because it's over. It's over. The universe, that universe is over. They could have brought Cavill. They could have brought everybody back. But then I saw another movie. Dang, I just because I went to the movies twice this week. I thought one was Flash, Spider-Man. I saw.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Into the Spider-Verse. Oh, The Blackening. Tiffany and I went to go see The Blackening.
Yeah, I see The Blackening.
We saw that on Saturday or last Sunday. So we enjoyed it. She really enjoyed it. She doesn't like horror films. I was like, it's not a horror film. So it's a murder whodunit.
So my daughter's like, Mom, you got to watch it. Okay, Mom, listen, you have to watch it.
So look,
you have to watch it. It's only 2 parts that'll spook you, but Mom, you got to go see it.
Yeah. It's not that scary. I'll put it to you like this. We've been watching Poker Face on Peacock. You would really, if you like thrillers, you like the people who did Poker Face are the same people who did Knives Out.
Oh, yeah, I love
both
those.
Knives Out series was pretty good. Poker Face was fun. Like, we enjoyed watching it. The premises is this girl can read people, whether they're lying or not telling the truth. And she uses that ability to solve murders. And she's being chased by the mob at the same time. So she got to go from one place to the next. She got to keep it moving. Like, she has to calculate her time where she's at because they'll find her. You know, it's really good. We were watching Murders Only in This Building. Only Murders in the Building. And that series was good. We watched season 1 and season 2. We enjoyed that. My wife enjoys that stuff. You know, Power's done. So, but she comes talking to me about Power all the time because she can't get over it, how it ended. And she's like, wait, they need to hurry up. So I'm like, baby, it'll be okay. They're shooting the season right now because they got to get it done. So, you know, there's a couple things I do plan on checking out that I'm going to watch on like Netflix. And so my dad wanted to watch Fast and the Furious X. So I bought it for him so he could watch it. I'm going to go watch it. Since I paid for it anyway, I can just watch it on the Apple TV.
You can watch it, yeah.
I'm not going to judge you.
I got, you know, it's already paid for. He told me he wanted to see it. I looked at him, was like, I don't know if you want to see it. like they really need to pay $25.99 for this. Like, you sure you want to watch this? Can we wait till it come out on Paramount? It's like I hadn't even watched the last Avatar movie. Like I tell people that a lot of stuff is just hyped, overly hyped, and it's how you tell the story. Again, what saved the first Avatar was the special effects was kind of new at the time, but the story itself was same old. Yeah, it was it was Tarzan. It was any movie where the white guy goes and becomes part of the native people. You know, it just is what it is. But that's the problem. Like, I do like certain superhero movies, but I'm sitting there like, I saw the Flash. Like, come on, can they go ahead and release Invincible on Amazon so I can get it moving? Because okay, let's just keep it moving. I get it. Marvel got some stuff. A Secret Invasion. I did watch the first episode of Secret Invasion. It's a spy type of thing, so I kind of was like, I like the direction they're going with it. You know, it's not a superhero thing.
It's not going to be a superhero thing. I'm going to wait till they release them all before I go and binge watch it. I like to be able to just know where it's going to get to the end. Like that's why I don't watch a lot of series, because then they don't get picked up and then they leave you with a cliffhanger or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, nah, I'll wait till you've done your run and then I go back and watch.
Yeah. So then, so let's drop these in real quick. Darrell said the only Avatar I acknowledge is The Last Airbender. If you haven't seen some of the previews for the Netflix one that is dropping soon, check that out. Bronx LT said, yep, the only artsy movie that's out now is the Wes Anderson movie Asteroid City. So
I'm
check
kind of
that
over
out. Wes Anderson has this way with the colors, the editing, and that's the thing about certain directors and that style that's built into their work. And the humor he has too as well.
That's true.
And that's where I will say, as a filmmaker, independent or whatever, you should be watching different people's styles and see what you can incorporate and what you like. Like I will always say, my favorite movie is Purple Rain, but one of the greatest standout movies for me was City of Gold. That movie, if you watch it, it's Brazilian. But I mean, City of God. Boom. I said the City. I don't know why I said Gold, because I think the sequel was something like that. But the City of God is one of those movies that is very fascinating story wise as well as cinematic. And that's why I said, like, you got to watch movies from other cultures, other communities. Don't just get trapped into American films, because you can learn a lot from style, color, so I'm it's like you gotta, and that's why I like movies, directors. The one thing, directing actors isn't the only thing you do. Like set mood. So you got to be like, sit with your cinematographer and sit with your art director and your wardrobe and unless you're small and you're those people, but your storyboard artist and kind of what's the color I want, what's the mood or setting I'm creating. That's why lookbooks to me are very important. Like, why don't people, I'm like, did you create a lookbook? They're like, no. What's a lookbook? Like, oh God.
I'm listening to all of this as I'm a first-time filmmaker. I'm listening to all of this, but it's all in my head. Like all the wardrobe, the color. Hold on. I know. But so everything's in my head. So I have to create. I have a really short amount of time to get a lookbook created because everything is in my head. Like I see, like everything is. I can tell you what this person's wearing then, this person's wearing there. Like the look of the film, the feel of the film, like all of that. I have all of that, but I have to.
But see, the lookbook is something. Once you do your script, you got your, and it's not even your locked in script, because even while you're filming, your script can change.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. But once you got your script, you start putting your lookbook together, because now you're picking your scenes. What's the color for the scene? What's the mood? What's the temperature for this? What emotion are you invoking here? What are you bringing? What is this character wearing during this scene? Why? What colors? What's the motif that's going to go throughout your film? Things like that you start thinking of. And so once you start planning after your script, all that's already done. And you're showing your director, you're showing your wardrobe person, you're bringing, and their job is to go make that happen.
Sometimes just having it in your head and being able to convey it with words is not going to be enough, especially for people that work in a visual medium. So when you're dealing with, as a director, when you're dealing with a cinematographer and you want to convey, this is the lighting that I'm looking for. If you said, listen, I want a kicker, I want a kicker back here, I want a fill light over here, I want this, that, and the third, then they still might not be able to grasp what that is doing for the scene, right?
Can't visualize,
And be able to visualize what that color palette is. And for the actors, when you talk about that lookbook as far as what they're wearing, you're talking about texture. You're talking about why this particular character might wear silk instead of cotton, because it's ingrained that deep into the overall theme of the whole picture, right? These things mean something. So when you do your lookbooks, the first thing I do is I go, like I said, to Shoptalk and try to find snapshots of different things that line up. when I sit with and talk with my wardrobe person, we talk about colors, we talk about textures and fabrics. Like, this is a part of the work as a director when we talk about the research, right? That you have to be willing to go and get well versed in, right? To be able to communicate with people where they are. Directors are problem solvers and communicators, and they bridge the gap between idea, right, and execution. And if you can't convey that to, if I can't sit with my wardrobe designer, or my production designer, and say, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for these particular colors. I'm looking for earth tones. I'm looking for fuchsias or Wes Anderson. I'm looking for pastels that can work in this particular film. If you aren't able to do that, you haven't done the work as the director just yet, because that is the paintbrush that you paint with words, right? You paint with creating this immersive world. And so I used to do the same thing. Like, I got it in my head. I'll know it when I see it. But then it became a part where I need to convey it to somebody else, because I can't go and do all the shopping. I can't go and do all the find all the wardrobe. And how do I do that? And when I found out about lookbooks, I was like, oh, well, crap, this is it. This is how I do it. Okay. I was like, and put this lookbook together, and it's easily shareable. At that point, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna hire you. Let me send you the lookbook so you can get an idea of where we're going theme-wise, color palette, and then I trust them to do their job. I give you the lookbook. Here's the themes. Here's what I'm looking for, and then they go shop. They go look for the outfit. They go find the props for the house and all this stuff. And as a director, I have to be willing to let go of that and say, yes, let's come back to the table.
I'm going to work on my look, because I'm telling you, you asked me what it looked like. You asked me anything, but I have to I have to get, like I said, I have a very short amount of time to get it done. So I'm going to get the lookbook done. Everything on my head.
Once you can convey that, because what you're doing is when you do your table reads and all that you're working with your actors. You're giving them feedback. But when you do your lookbook, you're giving your crew feedback.
The crew, yeah.
What their needs are. The department heads, what the needs are, and they're going to tell their people what you need, what they're trying to accomplish, because they know how to convey what you need now, and they can say, I remember being on set with Michael L. Jackson, and he comes out, he brings a storyboard with him, like he comes with his storyboard. So when they're doing lighting and all that, the guys, the gaffers and all them, they're setting up the lights and the dolly and all that. He's showing them, this is what I'm trying to get here. He goes through it and the lighting looks like this. So, everybody's has a different thing. I come with my shot list, but I do have a storyboard in most cases. I use Storyboard Quick for the storyboard, because you can just drop the people in, zoom out. Now I had 3D. FrameForge was the other one that was 3D, but that's a bit more time consuming, and that works really well for previs. Like if you're gonna do stunts or effects and stuff, that's the one you really want to play around with and use. But if you're just telling a straight drama or comedy story, you don't need anything more than Storyboard Quick. But then you can change the colors of the outfits. You can do a lot of different stuff with it, so that there's some beautiful aspects to that. And you can actually get a subscription version of Storyboard Quick for like the iPad for like $100 a year or something like that now.
Good investment.
Yeah.
I use that. I don't use Storyboard Quick. I use something called Previs that I got on my iPhone when I was starting out. I use a Studio Binder to do a lot to keep everything together in one space for project management. But it also reminds me, when you said studio head, department heads, I was thinking about American Gangster, right? It's just like, all these people around you, they don't talk to you directly. You talk to Huey, and Huey, you come talk to me. It's like, that's exactly how it is where you're on set. It's like, you're not going to talk to every gap. You're going to talk
Blot
to the
that. That's alpaca. Blot that.
That's right. Alpaca, boy. That's right.
I'm gonna get it done. I've done everything for this freaking movie, like everything, location, schedule, lawyer, insurance, everything. I just need to put the lookbook,
You
the
got all
colors
the
in the look.
hats.
Yeah.
I've
Well, no,
been
no,
there.
no. Only because God set me down for 5 months and told me to get it done. So I literally had to get up and go find locations and do stuff, and like that was my job for 5 months. Like, is
Where
to
are
do
you?
that.
Where are you at?
I'm in
Where you?
Atlanta.
You're in Atlanta. Okay, so they have some huge resources for you. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've already.
She's
So
in like the mecca of Black independent
Really?
films.
What
Yeah.
yeah.
resources? What
So like,
resources?
are
Don't
you're
worry,
film?
I'm gonna contact you offline. Don't worry. I mean, this way. I'm gonna contact you offline. Because um yeah, I'm gonna contact you offline anyway. But
Okay.
yeah, so I'm gonna work on the lookbook and put all those colors and everything that's in my head on the paper.
You'll
So
Yeah,
find
like you look at
it.
color palettes. What is it? Studio Binder has color palettes. They have a whole thing, and you can go through the different color palettes and figure out what you want your film to do, which helps you because once you start working with your editor,
Yep.
and then they edit and they fine tune it, they do all the stuff, and then they send it over to your color team,
color
your
grader and color
colorist,
corrector.
right? And he starts grading it. You can send a palette over, and the other thing is if you already have LUTs designed for it on your external monitor, you can actually put the LUT that you're going to be working through for those scenes, and you can see it how it's going to look when it's edited, and
She
then
gave you the look like what?
yeah.
Remember, I am a screenwriter who God has called to make their first movie. So you baby, listen. Everybody had
Because once, yeah, you could
so,
design your LUTs and stuff. Like you could do a couple of test shots and then have a LUT design for that. And then you could put that LUT into your monitors, your external monitors. And while they're shooting in whatever log, if you're using a Red or you're using Canon or Sony or whatever logs they got, the S log, C log, the RAW, the R, whatever Red is. I can't remember off the top of my head now.
Red Raw.
Red
thanks,
Raw, is it what
Darrell.
raw? Okay, so I was right. So
Thanks,
but
Darrell. Stop that. Got it.
so then you can look at it and then you can say, okay, that's gonna look the way I want it to look. And while you're monitoring things, because really on set, you're gonna have your cinematographer and your focus puller and your cameraman, so focus puller, your camera two person. And depending on how many cameras you're using too, are you one camera shot, 2, 3, because of course me personally, I'm at this point, I would love to play around more. So I'm usually doing single camera, but I would love to do more of 2, 3 cameras because I think it'll make the shoot go quicker. You
It
get all the
does.
shots and angles you need,
I
and you're out.
swear it don't.
It'll
I
When
cut
I'm
your
on
costs a
set,
little bit. It'll
when
cut
I'm
your
on set
time.
watching them, I'm like, it don't feel like it's going faster with two cameras.
I shoot a lot of 2 cam shoots,
Some
and it can
people,
be fast, but it can slow you down if you don't have the right.
yeah. Here's it
Okay.
is. Some people get
Okay,
2
gotcha.
cameras. They be like, I'm gonna get this, get this, get this, instead of, hey, these are my basic shots I'm setting up, and
Yes,
they don't have their everything lined out. Like they don't have a blocking done, right? And that's the problem. They're not blocking for multiple cameras because why do I need if the actor brought it on that single shot over the shoulder the way I wanted them to, I don't need to shoot it again and move the camera around. They got me what I want, right?
They got me what I want.
I got my wide or my medium. I got my close-ups. If we're shooting in 8K and 4K, I can zoom in. Well, for 8K, I can zoom in on stuff. So I don't need to put them through. Heck, let me get you in, get you out.
Now,
I don't need no more than 3 to 4 takes. If you go beyond that, you're starting to waste a lot of time.
it
Oh no,
really
that's
depends on, like we said earlier, about breathing and getting the take that you want. And so you need to be concise in getting the things that you need so that you have those 2 or 3 extra takes to get what you want or to get what you didn't know you needed or didn't know you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have that worked out ahead of time, what you burn up all the takes and all the time in just getting what you need. And that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. Then you don't have that room for God to come in the room to get the thing that you didn't know you needed. And this is why the planning aspect is really pivotal, because if you can communicate earlier what you need, then now it becomes easier for them to give you the thing that you didn't know you wanted at
Yeah.
in that time. But if you haven't communicated any of that, if you haven't worked out the shot angles, you spend a ton of time on set trying to coordinate 2 cameras, trying to coordinate the lights, trying to coordinate the actors and the blocking and all that stuff you should have did before you showed up. And now you have a problem because now you're not going to make it. And you still ran 2 cameras.
So, all right. So here's the question. Darrell said, question, do people get paid to do lookbooks? Usually the director does the lookbook. And I mean, usually, because they know what they're looking for. It's really, it's kind of like me saying, now you get paid to do a storyboard and stuff like that. But usually the director puts that lookbook together or with their team and they go, all right, now give this out to those people. So it might be the director, assistant director.
Help, like a new director like me, and I'm like, oh, that would be great to get for somebody to walk through setting up the lookbook for me. That is your service, Darrell. Absolutely. You put that out there in your price.
Yeah, M. Legend Brown said, you need actors to understand that there are 2 cameras because most actors are used to playing to 1 camera, because you could use a long lens on 1 camera and they're never in the shot. So like that's why blocking is important and understanding so they don't step into people's way and stuff like that when you're doing because you plan out your shots. It's kind of like a conversation thing. When people are normally doing conversations, you got your 3 camera shots, right? You got, and you might have a 4th one depending on if your camera's moving or not. But you got your camera A, which is, on the person on your right, camera B on the person on the left, camera C is on both of them, giving a medium shot or a wide shot, and the other 2 are close up or over the shoulder shots for you. So that's where you look at those things. But that's why when you get in the room, it's important to like look at all your locations, take picture, and get an idea what the room looks like, so you can do all your blocking.
Go before your production.
Yeah, don't wait until we're gonna go up today and we're gonna start. So you're gonna start blocking that day. That's wasted time.
You're gonna lose any hair you have. It's gonna be all gone. Don't do it the day of. It's too much other things going on.
Yeah, lock in your locations. You do that. I always say sometimes that's the crazy part. Like studios have that benefit because they can design the room and, they know where things are going to go, the lights and all that stuff. And they can block it well by how they open a room up. So that's a more controlled environment. The other environments, they're not controlled. It's hard.
Trying to hold a boom.
That's why cameras are important. See, that's why the cameras, the booms, the type, everything, all your tools and stuff is important to understand your location, because how you're going to use it. Somebody goes, okay, if it's a tight location, you're going to use a short camera. That's why today we have to build out cameras more so now. Like back in the day, they had these large cameras, and that's when DSLRs came on the market shooting in HD and stuff. People were like, because you could put so many cameras and it could be destroyed. They were cheap. They were cheaper than the production cameras. So they could be like, what was a house, and the parking lot came down and they had a bunch of Canon 5D cameras set up in different places. Those cameras could get damaged because they didn't cost much. You just want to make sure the cards were safe, or they were sending out the signals to your recorders and monitors. But for the most part, you can let those get damaged and write off the cost of that, because that was only a couple thousand pers the hundreds of thousands on this one camera. You can't let nothing happen to it. Every time you see $100,000 camera get damaged, you ever been on Instagram? You see the camera, you're like, oh god,
on the pole, hanging out over the dam and hit the pole, bang, into the water.
Oh, that's me. That's me on set when anybody try to touch the camera equipment that I don't know. Like if I don't know you and never work,
yeah, they're like, what? Because there's a video where the crane is on the vehicle and it's moving, and they don't see the light, and the crane hits the light, the camera goes, and there's boom.
Yeah.
And there's the guy, he's running with the camera, but it's not locked in, and it comes off the thing, and you're like,
Straight on the
yo,
ground.
good luck.
Baby.
That's why
But I tell
insurance
you
is so
what, if they
important.
bring their own equipment, I bet you if they bring their own equipment, we good.
No, anything can happen. That's why
No,
you
no,
have
no. I'm
insurance,
saying in
man. That's why
regards
you
to
have
making sure stuff
insurance.
is locked down and stuff. When you have your own equipment, you handle it like this versus somebody handing you a piece of rented equipment. They're like, "Oh, it's not mine. Oh, yeah, I got it." You know. But
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
no, they still
if
treat
it's
you. Look, the
yours,
right cinematographer is going to do what they need to do, but that's
yeah, if it's
insurance is
yours, you like
important.
this.
Have it covered, and you have more than one camera. You get even if you're only shooting with one camera, it's good to have a second one on set in case something goes wrong with that camera. Then you're not trying to find a camera to shoot with
Yep.
that
Firmware
day
update,
or do
anything can happen.
anything can happen. So you want to have all your stuff done, and you want to have a backup camera just in case that one camera goes down. You pull the other one out, you get it put together, and boom. That takes minutes, maybe an hour to get it all reset. But you're looking at losing days of shooting if you only got one camera for your production.
Yep. To try to get another one in. Yeah.
That money. Yep. So cool. All right.
All right, y'all. Oh, this has been really good. I mean, it's the season finale, so
We're going to go a little longer. Go and say what you want to say. That's what
we gave y'all a little extra because people were throwing out questions, and we appreciate everybody's support during the season. Like I said, we'll be back towards the end of August. We'll be starting to promote that, but we'll be dropping gems and other stuff on the actual pages, our Instagram page, our Facebook page, having some short video content possibly go up on the YouTube channel, things like that. So you do want to stay tuned, but for as much as the live streaming podcast, we won't be back until mid to late August, I will say. And that will put together some surprises for y'all because we do have some other things in the works happening. But I will want to say, before we give our 60-second jewel, because I want them to think about what they want to leave with you for 60 seconds, I do want to say, Dr. Thaddeus W. Jones, thank you, my brother, for coming on. We appreciate you. You awesome, great conversation. We love it. This has been fun, and we hope that everybody, our viewers who've been viewing with us, we like to say we appreciate you and your support, and we're going to continue to do the best. So if you got things you like us to talk about in the future coming back, start dropping those messages, the DMs, the emails. So are y'all ready to drop your 60-second gem?
Sure. Why not?
All right, Thaddeus, you the guest, brother. We gotta let you go first.
I will say, beat on your craft. Figure out exactly what it is that you want to do first, whether that's cinematography, and understand that if you're going into it for a business, then understand that you need to understand how that business works. If you're just in it for the art, then get waist deep, neck deep in the art and figure out how to say what you're trying to say. Whatever it is that you're going for, don't be afraid to go dig in and get that research so that you can be well informed moving forward.
There you go. See, that's the gem right there. See?
That's a gem.
From the professor. From the doctor. All right. TK?
My gem is going to be use your resources. Like we always talk about how there's no shortage of knowledge. There's no shortage. All of us networking is like, your strong point is this, your strong point is this. Hey, let me hit you up. Let me ask about this. Use your resources. We don't have to sit here and wreck our heads trying to figure this stuff out by ourselves. Use your network, use your resources to get this stuff done so it won't take you 10,000 years when you have it right in front of you and you could have just reached out and asked some questions.
There you go. See, y'all dropping gems. There you go. Resources, education, learn your craft. I'm telling you, like, the skills is very important. I want to say thank you to Bronx LT, Thomas, Renita. Sorry, Renita. Renita. I'm gonna have to say your name a million.
Like me and Lou.
Renita. There you go. All right now. Mike M. Legend Brown, Jamal, Darrell, Leonard, Eric,
Thomas, Yvonne.
Thomas, acting like Tanya, Yvonne. I want to say thank you to everybody who's hanging out. Don't forget, by the way, tomorrow night, 7:30 to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, we will have the Filmmakers Roundtable, and 6:30 to 8 o'clock Central Time. Again, make sure you DM TK so she can get your email address. Send her your email address so she can get you the information to the roundtable, so y'all can come hang out and talk and get that vibe
It's not
going.
about us.
Yeah, y'all, it's about you. I
You
would
guys.
like to talk. We already talk enough on the show. We want y'all. We want y'all to come on and have a conversation, and we might chime in and here and there, But all y'all intelligent people, we want that intelligence, that network, because your network is your net worth. I know you guys have heard that before, and so you got to network. And what I will say, and this is my 60-second gem, I don't care if you're in a film group. They're not for your audience. Your film group is for you and your growth, your support group. Think of your film network in a film group like an AA meeting, for lack of better terms. You go in there, you share your experiences, you get some growth, and you got people to help guide you through your situation. They're your support group. They're not your audience. Your audience is based on the theme, what your film's about, your storyline. If you're talking about certain, those are the people who will appreciate your work. So they're elsewhere. The film groups are for support. Now, we are one of those film groups, the Black Filmmakers Lounge community, that we're very big on. It's all about film. We're not worried about everything else. And when it's not that we don't care or we're not compassionate about certain things, the reason is it's about film, only film, for film, because we really want your growth. If I came in there talking about sports or comedy, I'm doing a comedy show, that has nothing to do with film. We're not going to let that pass through. It doesn't get posted. The reason is we're strictly about film. I don't go to a golf group talking about football. So that's what we have to understand, growth, right? And how do we grow? Stay on topic, stay focused. And so I want you guys to remember that. So what we always say at the Black Filmmakers Lounge, be strategic, intentional, and authentic. And that's what we are all about. So we'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us here at the Black Filmmakers Lounge. Again, Dr. Thaddeus Jones, thank you for your support. Thank you for hopping on, my brother. We appreciate you. And my co-host, Tamara T.K. Henderson, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And we'll be back next season.
You, Michael, for putting this all together for us to be here.
Well, thank you very much. He's the guy above.
All you do behind the scenes that I could never do. Period.
So we like to remind you that the Black Filmmakers Lounge is where interdependent filmmakers, whether novelists or professionals, come together to gain insight and perspective through education, information, networking, and to discuss industry best practices that would advance the Black interdependent film community. So that's what we're about. That's why we're here. Stick to that. We keep it going. Y'all enjoy your weekend. Go shoot something. Go film something. Enjoy. And share this. Like, subscribe, share. Let people know you watch this. Put it on your page. That's how we don't ask for money. We asking you to share. So let's make this happen. And subscribe as well if you haven't subscribed.
Like, subscribe,
right?
and share.
That's
like,
right.
Subscribe, and share. Like,
Love you
subscribe,
guys.
and share.
Be blessed. Enjoy your summer. And we will see you in August on this show. And other ways we'll see you. Oh, by the way, Thaddeus and I, that guy, am I doing it this way? Right?
The other way.
That way? This way? Boom. That guy and I will be at the Charlotte Black Film Festival July 6th through July 9th. We both have projects that are screening at the film festival. So come out to the Charlotte Black Film Festival in Charlotte, North Carolina. Get your tickets, book your flight, book your thing. It's fun. You'll meet filmmakers, and it's a good place that I hope you guys are going to the film festivals. You have Martha's Vineyards coming up. ABFF has already happened, actually, unfortunately, last week. So, not unfortunately, but if you didn't get it, There you
It's
go. But there's a lot of them coming up. Den Black Film Festival is posted. They're getting entries now. Capital City Black Film Festival, the International Black Film Festival, Nashville, they've posted. So start Twin City Film Festival in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Start looking up the festivals and put your projects in. And we out. We love you guys. Peace.
Bye.